everyone, it's Maribel Blue. Welcome to my coaching channel. I am so glad that you're here. We are going to be talking about friends, advice, and your relationship. And this will be pertaining to both personal relationships and work relationships because sometimes people can probably not give the most sound advice, especially when it comes to a work structure. So if you are new here, welcome to this channel. This channel is strictly talking about relationships, business, coaching, mentoring, and of course, as you know, I do have my Maribel Blue Unfiltered channel, which the link will be down below. I just started this channel recently, so your subscriptions, your likes, your comments will help tremendously with the algorithms on YouTube. So please consider subscribing. If you like this type of content, yes, we will be incorporating some tarot at the end of this episode. So stay tuned as we talk more about what feedback do we get when it comes to friends' advice and your relationships. Hey everyone, if you haven't noticed already, Surfbox has moved to a new platform and we are relaunching all of the greatest products on our store. We just relaunched the spa boxes as well as the new crystal boxes with all genuine crystals, great sage products, and much, much more. Look out for the new wish jars, which will be coming soon, and as well as the costume jewelry section. We have lots of fun stuff going on Surfbox. Be sure to sign up for the mailing list at servboxx.com. This is an innovative way to try new products without breaking the bank. See you soon. So this topic was influenced more from Married at First Sight, which I know I keep saying I'm going to blog about it. I promise you, and I normally don't make any promises, but believe me when I tell you, I had recorded some shows and I will not only be doing a regular blog on YouTube, but there will be extended content on my Patreon channel. Just some things that YouTube will not allow for whatever reason that is. I think the reason is obvious, but I want to break down certain things that happened on this season, the San Diego cast, because it was really, really intense. I think this week coming up will be Decision Day, and I thought they already had shown it. Obviously not. I'm not going to give any spoilers here. I just basically want to talk about what has been the premise on this show has been other couples talking about their relationship with either the other couples or their friends. Apparently, this has become an extreme problem. I'm not sure why. I mean, I can see why in the sense of getting upset with the feedback that their friends are giving them, also how they're looked upon to their friends. And we're going to use Miguel and Lindy as an example, especially things that happened the past 2 weeks within their relationship, which I tweeted a few weeks ago back. I thought that they had potential. You know how like the couples, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the premise of Married at First Sight, but the premise is that you're getting married to a stranger. You're not going to know who they are, what they look like, what their name is, nothing until wedding day. And you're legally getting married with a stranger. You begin cohabitating with them. They send them off on a honeymoon, which kind of breaks the ice because they're on neutral ground, but then they live like in a neutral zone apartment. It's not really their home. I think in the beginning, when the first couple of seasons started, I don't think it was like that. I think they had to either make up their minds of what apartment they were going to be living in at the time. And of course, we're into 15 seasons and I think that they started this long ago because at some point I really stopped watching. I'm not a fan of Dr. Pepper and her giddiness for these relationships to work, especially when people are cohabitating. If you don't know, in season 14, I believe, she made a mention that she and her husband do not cohabitate together. They live in separate houses. And I'm not sure what the situation was. Something happened where there was an acquirement of this property. The husband lives in one house, she lives in another house. It's unconventional, yes. Given their situation, maybe they're just used to living like that. However, this falls into the very topic of your friends giving you advice. Where are they in their lives? Why would anybody listen to Dr. Pepper talking about cohabitating when she doesn't even do that with her husband? So it's kind of hard to get that feedback. Yes, she's a psychiatrist. Is she going to tell things to people just to make the relationships work, or like force them to be together? Because the success rate on this show is very low. The marriages do not last. Even on decision day, people can say that they want to stay married. I think the only couple that stayed in the on the Boston season was Elijah Wan and Katina. I know that Steve and Noy broke up not too long ago. It's unfortunate because they seem like the more stable couple. They had some sort of stability, but Noy was also extremely disrespectful at times. She came off in a way where she didn't like the idea that Steve didn't have a permanent job. He was doing freelance work. It wasn't like he was not working. He did have money. For some reason, she had a problem with him not having a stable job because she wanted to have 4 children. She made a decision on that. She was not backing out on it. Had to be 4 children. It had to be this way. And at some point, she didn't want to work anymore. She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and raise her children. You know, in this day and age, sometimes things like that isn't a realistic thing to say to yourself, well, I'm going to have this breadwinning husband and I'm just going to stay at home and take care of my kids. It's a rarity, especially in a situation where you're not financially set. No, we're not the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, for example. We're certainly not Erica. I had to throw that in there. So let's begin. Let's talk about some points that happened during the Miguel and Lindsay miscommunication and what happened. Like, why did it go there? One of the things that I've learned is who I talk to when it comes down to sharing my relationships with my friends. Not everyone will agree with your relationship, like your partner. A lot of the times, they don't even know who the person is. Like, they've never met them in person. So whatever it is that you're supplying them, they've already have set in their mind who this person is, how they are, and 99% of the time just come to a conclusion and tell you, just let it go, leave it alone, it's not worth it. Now, of course, in abusive situations, entirely different story. I would not recommend that anybody stays in any type of abusive situation. One day is too long, and take it from me, I have experience in that area and it's not pleasant to live through. I don't know any other way to put it. I had a very, and you've heard me say this time and time again, especially on Unfiltered, where I was in a disaster, and that's what I call it. It's not a relationship, it was a disaster. I wound up with some narcissistic gaslighter. It affected me in so many ways. I mean, outside of that, that person is no longer here in my world, but in my head, sometimes it's not very good. And I have to find ways to overcome that and not drag that into my current relationship, whatever it is that we want to call it today. when we're talking about fairly healthy relationships, and what's a fairly healthy relationship? You meet somebody, you get along with them, you find you have a lot of things in common with them, you like being with them, you like them as a person, you fall in love. And things happen. I believe that things happen as time goes on. After my experience, I really don't believe in this love at first sight type of thing, sort of like this married at first sight. I just find it difficult to believe that within a 10-week period, somebody can fall in love. You can feel love, but are you in love? Which is two entirely different feelings, at least for me. It could be different for somebody else. I don't know. But for me, I feel like in order for you to fall in love with somebody, you have to know them. Like you have to get to know them and be around them and like being around them, like their presence. And I think all of those things are so important. So when situations happen, if you run into some kind of a difficult track in your relationship or hurdle, whatever it is that you want to call it, and you're trying to find your way out of that. Because if you love the person, you want things to work out. You don't not want them to work out. If you don't want them to work out, then you shouldn't be in a relationship in the first place. However, if you do want things to work out, if you feel like you've invested a lot of time in your person and you love them and you want to be with them and you want to get over hurdles and learn how to communicate certain feelings that you're having or concerns or fears, whatever it is, you want to be able to come across in a way that you're not dictating to them. Well, in order for me to feel secure, you have to do A, B, and C. That's not the way relationships work. The security comes from the nurturing that you give to each other. And in the case with Miguel and Lindy, it seemed like they were really nurturing. They had like these different assignments. They usually get like a gift basket so that they could be more intimate with one another. One couple got like fetish gear. They ended up getting like a baby. And it's one of those babies. It's kind of like those machines that came up, those little keychain things where it was like a baby and you had to take care of it. I'm cracking up because I had those little keychain things. And at the time, it was like the late 90s. It was all the craze. I don't know what possessed me to get one. My ex-boyfriend at the time, I think he hated me when I had that because I was consumed with this make-believe baby. It was really time consuming. And like if we were going out and I made sure I had something, I always forget something. Trust me when I tell you, I could be in my head, yes, I need to take this and take that, and I'll always forget something where I have to run back. So in this situation, I had forgotten the little keychain baby out the door, and like we're out the building, and then all of a sudden I remember the baby.
This is your new virtual pet, and in order to keep it happy and healthy, you have to take good care of it, including feeding it, bathing it, playing with it, and giving it a good night's rest. Who knew such a small amount of pixels would be such a big responsibility? Guys, thanks for watching. For more fun,
And I'm laughing because I remember his face. He was so mad. Why can't you leave it? And I was so consumed. No, because the baby is going to cry. It needs to be fed. It needs to be changed. I mean, I was just insane. Finally, the battery died and that phase was over and done with. But it was, yeah. In their situation, they had this baby. They had to take care of it. And what is the lesson with the baby? The commitment that you're going to make to that child. That's what it's about. Nobody has babies for the fun of it. And maybe they should have given Noi and Steve a baby just so that she could see how time consuming it is to take care of one baby. And she's talking about 4. I have none. There's a reason why I don't have any, but that's neither here nor there. The fact remains is that there is a level of commitment one must make you're going to make a commitment to each other. You bring in this baby, and it's kind of like 10 times the commitment. You're not going to get any sleep. You're going to be getting up in the middle of the night. The keychain did the same thing. I'm telling you, it was almost like the same real life experience. It was funny and not funny. It's crazy the things that I remember sometimes. So getting back to, again, Miguel and Lindy and the things that's going on. Now, the relationship in the beginning, I felt like Miguel was trying to control the relationship. Lindy comes from a background where she was brought up like an evangelist environment. There was no this, no that, no dancing. It's just kind of like crazy things. You know what I mean? Things that should be natural for you to celebrate yourself, dance, and have a good time. And you can't do those things because apparently you will be punished. She's not in that right now. And at the same time, I feel like Miguel, knowing that information, was he trying to control her? Was he trying to implement his own system so that she would just follow along? It was just this whole thing that, like I said, I really don't want to get into it here. What I'm trying to convey in this situation, here they are talking to other couples who are basically in the same situation. They are all married to strangers. They are all getting to know these people. So who best to discuss things that are going on in the relationship with other people? Well, I should say with other people within the cast. But again, they also have their friends that they are talking to. I want to say this. This is something that I wrote in my notes. Choosing who we talk to is important because not many of your friends will be on your side. And it's the same way, it goes the same way like in a work environment. If I'm having trouble in a work environment, maybe I'm not getting along with somebody. Maybe I have a manager who likes to micromanage and like stand behind you to see if you're inputting everything right and not trusting that you're doing the work correctly because they think that they're perfect. That can be a problem. When you're in a situation like that, who are the best people to talk to about it? Other co-workers, and not necessarily people who you work with currently, but maybe people outside of that, people that you used to work with in the past that's not in that situation where they can give an objective point of view. If you talk to somebody, let's say, who's self-employed and they don't have employees under them, they don't have the experience of working in a corporate environment, why would you talk to that person? They're not really going to understand the logistics of how a corporate environment works. Now, of course, that doesn't exclude that there won't be some type of insanity in a corporate environment as opposed to a small business or people who own a business. Let's say, like, it's a family owned business. There's always going to be some bullshit in a family owned business that a person who's not in the family will have to contend with. And that's really bad. Sometimes I think family owned business, they should not hire anybody outside of their family. Just stay within the family so that nobody takes anything personal. When you hire people outside of the realm of your family, you have to treat that person with respect. Even if you don't have like an HR in your business or whatever the case may be, at the end of the day, you have to treat your employees with respect. And if you're not doing that, then perhaps maybe you should not be in a business. Maybe you should rethink the structure of your business if you're family owned and maybe you're only going to have family in there. Just some things to think about. I know that I veered off topic, but that was something that I wanted to bring up in the case of you sharing issues that's going on in a workplace. So perhaps it's best when you're talking to your friends about things that is happening at a workplace, it probably would be better to talk to somebody who has worked in a corporate environment or a small business, whatever the case may be. Because a lot of the times, people who work independently, they're not really going to understand. Now, maybe once upon a time before they became independent, if they were working in a corporate environment, sure, they're going to understand. Hence the reason why they veered off and went off on their own, because they just couldn't deal with the bullshit, which I completely get. I'm like a free bird. I don't like anybody standing over my shoulder. I don't like feeling like somebody doesn't trust the work that I'm putting into. If you don't trust what it is that I'm doing, then I shouldn't be working for you. End of story. The other part to trying to decipher about your relationships, and I've noticed that this is something that has been really big, the growth on YouTube of tarot readers. And I'm one of them. I'm one of them who, for maybe a year, I watched this one particular tarot reader. She was really accurate in a lot of the things that she said. Like, I really enjoyed her. She's the kind of tarot reader, she'll have like, she used to have like 4 groups. Sometimes she'll have 4, but most times she'll have 3 groups. So you pick the group that you feel you resonated with, whether it's a crystal, whether it's a pile of cards, a charm, whatever it is. She will give a reading from that group. What happens with people? They become consumed with the tarot reader and living their relationships from what's coming out in those cards. Not everything will resonate in what it is that you're getting from these general readings. And that's the thing. People miss it. People miss that this is a general collective reading, which means that not everything will resonate with your situation. Another tarot reader that I got into, one of the things that she would say is, just because I say a third party, it doesn't mean that you get to go back to your person and accuse them of cheating on you because so and so tarot reader said there is a third party. Maybe that's not for you. Maybe your person doesn't have a third party. You never know the situation until you communicate with your person, your feelings, what's going on, why you're feeling what it is that you're feeling. Was there a shift in your relationship? Did something change? And this is the reason why we always have to be careful. We're looking for friends' advice. That's the first thing that we go through or go to. Who is the friend that we're going to talk to that's going to listen to us, that's going to give us sound advice on what to do? Not all of your friends will be in agreement of your relationship. Like I said in the beginning, not all of your friends will like the person that you're with. Not all of your friends will cheer for you if you're happy in your relationship. Maybe you need to take a look at your friends. I hate to put it that way, but that's something that you will need to take under consideration, because if you have people in your life, like, why surround people in your life who are not going to be happy for you, who are not going to be happy about your relationships, who are not going to be happy about your work situation or your business, whatever it is? If somebody is consistently not happy for you, why do you have that person as your friend? There are many of people that have walked into my life and I just let them walk right out, because I felt like, why do I have you as a friend? Not anything bad towards them, but you just feel like there's nothing in common. And that happens with relationships too. You just fall out of place, out of their life. And it happens. It's not a bad thing. It's just the circle of life. Here's the other thing that I believe is the most important, is trusting your intuition. You have to, at some point, how to learn how to trust yourself, what you feel inside. It's kind of like when I lived in the Bronx, right? And I would think to myself, what train should I take? Because if I had to be somewhere, let's say I had to be on the east side, I could have taken the bus over to the 4 train and then just take me right to Grand Central Station, which is on the east side of Manhattan. Or I could take the 1 train and just travel over to 42nd Street and Times Square and either walk from Times Square to Grand Central or take the shuttle. So I had choices. Then there were days it was like, I feel like I should take the 4 train because of whatever. And then, of course, I'll go against my intuition and get on the one, and some disaster shit will happen that kind of confirms why I should have taken the other way in the first place. So that's just a little thing. But when we're talking about like bigger things, if you're in a relationship with someone and you feel a change in that relationship, well, what happened? You shouldn't be afraid to discuss with your partner the shift that just occurred in your relationship. And whatever your intuition is telling you, the last thing that you should be doing is running to a tarot reader to see what it is that they're doing. Again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with going on YouTube and kind of getting insight if it makes you feel better, because I do it and I don't have an issue doing it. But if I need to discuss with the person that I'm with, I feel something, I need to talk about it with them and not turn on a YouTube video and think, oh, well, this is what they're feeling. Okay, problem solved. And it's not really solved because you haven't spoken to the actual person. You just got a collective reading, and that was it. The thing is with tarot readers is that it's an objective point of view. You're not getting the point of view from your friends. And that's the difference between talking to your friends and listening to a tarot reader, where you just picked a pile, you related to it on some form or another, and then you feel better, or it makes you feel better. At the end of the day, it really is about your intuition, what it is that you feel inside. When I was in this disaster, and I don't want to talk too much about it just because there are some things that I'm working on. But anyway, when I was in this disaster, it was almost as if when I came into physical contact with this person, something didn't feel right. And I pushed that aside. I kept saying to myself, this is just you in your head. Like, don't think about it. It's going to be fine. But then the intuition got stronger. There were just some things that I could not ignore. And how can I put this without getting emotional? Because it's starting. Okay, we're back. I had to stop for a moment because, like I said, some of these things are extremely difficult to talk about. Reliving a lot of the things that happened during that time, it's very emotional for me. So it's hard for me to try and share without getting emotional behind it. But what I wanted to say was, when the intuition became stronger that this disaster wasn't right, it had come to a point where I had more weight on myself than what I have now. Granted, I'm not where I want to be in my weight, but I was much bigger. And I didn't realize that I was basically eating all of my emotions. And then it came to a point, well, you're so fat and disgusting. This is what I was telling myself. You're so fat and disgusting. Who is going to want you? You might as well stay with this loser who doesn't work, who sits around and sleeps all day long. And then when you come home, it's just more undaunted complaints with a handout. Like, why would anybody want you? This is the logic that came into my head, that nobody was going to want me anyway. It took a long time. I felt like it took longer than what it should have for me to find my way out of it safely. What I've learned about relationships, when you're not communicating with your partner, or you are communicating with your partner, in the situation with Miguel and Lindy, we're going to use them as an example. Their miscommunication. Miguel was feeling annoyed. He was feeling annoyed about something. Did it have to do with Lindy? Not sure. Whatever was going on with him during that time, he was misdirecting his anger on her. So because of that, he was speaking to her in a way that was really hurtful. And it took me back to things that had happened where I was being spoken to or accused of doing things that I didn't do, and then having to continue to explain in 50 million different ways. And no matter what I said, it just wasn't going to get through for whatever reason that is. At the end of the day, you have to stop and say, you know what? I'm not going to continue to defend myself when I've already told you time and time again, I didn't do XYZ or what you think that I did. And that person is just going to really have to accept that answer. If you're having a problem with somebody, you should talk to that person directly. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out and staying with me. I hope that when I edit this video, it's like 20 minutes, not long. I did want to share an oracle message with you. Today we are going to use the Moonology. I hate when it takes forever, but this is the Moonology deck. And I really love this because the message is just really just plain and simple and to the point. Hopefully this message will help you go on your way to what you need help with in your relationship and in communication. And like I said before, not all of your friends will. Oh, this card came out flying. Actually, it looks like there's more than one. So let's see. Ooh, the first message is a time for healing. All right. And the next card is this is funny. Your dreams need a practical plan. And this is so true because all have ideas. We all have dreams, but we need a plan. We need to write things out. For me, I'm a big believer. You write things out, you make a list, and you check off that list everything that you need to do. So here is the next card. And then finally, the third card says emotions are running high. Super moon. So if any of these messages resonated with you, this is just a guide to let you know that the universe is on your side and working with you always. Remain positive, stay positive, have good people around you that will lift you up and not put you down, because it's very, very important to be encouraged and not discouraged. And with all that being said, this is Maribel Blue signing off. Thank you for taking the time out. Do leave a comment, do like this video, and please subscribe. Always remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.